this week's episode of the Autohaus podcast.
It's crazy. I think if you're passionate about something so specialized, and you only really start that if you have your whole heart in it.
This is the Autohaus podcast, and we are doing something a little bit different today for a special guest who's previously been on the podcast. Can you say your name, give yourself a short introduction again?
Hey, this is Eric. I'm on Instagram at outrun.86, and I am a Corolla owner. I have an SR5 hatch that's converted to a GTS, and then I also have a GTS coupe.
I have so many questions to ask you since the last time you were here.
Yeah, a lot has changed since the last time.
I guess, first of all, your car looks amazing, like after paint.
Oh, thanks, man. I am. I seriously could not be happier with it. It is. It feels like a totally different car.
So talk about like the paint choice, because I know it's two-tone, and then what other stuff did you do to the car while it was getting painted?
Yeah, so I had my hatchback was previously just the OEM red color, and it was a California car. The car was, very rust-free and in great shape, but the paint was just pretty much like sun-baked. And, on Instagram it looked good. From afar it looked good, but there were spots where it was just down to the primer. The roof had giant primer spots. The hatch had big primer spots. There were weird scratches. So, and I would get it detailed, and it would be shiny for about a day and a half, and then that shine would go away. So I think the paint was just toast. So I kind of deliberated paint color for a very long time, and I kind of admitted that there wasn't going to be a paint color decided until the day that it was being painted. And even when I dropped it off, I had actually changed the paint scheme from when I dropped it off to when it finally got painted. But I ended up going with two-tone. It's the black over gray. And it's an OEM paint scheme. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's only a right-hand drive paint scheme, the Japanese models.
I was just about to ask. It seems like, I know that's an OEM paint scheme, but I was like, it's got to be Japanese only, because I've never seen it stateside.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is, because we got the silver over black Panda, but we didn't get the black over silver two-tone. So it's the first left-hand drive one I've seen in this color, which makes me excited. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. And I had so many parts that I was waiting to put onto the car until paint that I didn't really necessarily need to wait to put on, but just to make it that much more extra special once I got the car back from paint. So along with paint, the car is has Koki bumpers, but it has the Zenki lip on the front. I have side skirts on it now, and then I have the hatch wing as well, or the just the OEM spoiler. And then a lot of other little details, like I had gotten all new door hinges, all new weather seals for around the car, new door handles. I got the Solex Twin Cam Series locks to go all around. I even waited to put my hatch struts on, just so like when I got it back from paint, I had a working hatch for the first time, just to make it like more than just physical. When I got it back from this kind of transformation, it was even functionally better, just to make it that much more exciting.
What is the Twin Cam Series Solex locks? What are those?
So all it says is, I have no idea why they call it the Twin Cam Series, but it just says Solex Twin Cam on the lock. So it's just sick to have like Twin Cam written another 3 places on the car.
Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean, because we have a Battle Garage. Kevin owns that Starion, and like turbos written everywhere on the car, which is totally 80s thing.
Oh god,
right?
It's so good to just take one detail about the car, the motor or something, and just write it everywhere. It's the most 80s thing you can do.
Exactly.
So yeah, that the car is painted, and it's just like it's a working, running, driving car now, which is incredibly exciting.
And then talk about the other car, because I don't think a lot of people know about the other car.
Yeah, so the other car, well, I guess first of all, like we spent a lot of like 3 years building the hatch from basically a shell. We tore it down to a shell and then built it up to what is pretty much like a a restoration of an 8.6. So I really, truly needed a break from 8.6 building from the ground up. But last year, or 2018, I bought a red GTS coupe that I was basically going to just turn into a drift car, get it caged, and just, do all the things you have to do to turn it into a nice functioning drift car. And just as I was about to start taking the plunge into that, which, as you know, is, a time suck and a money suck. Dan,
exactly, yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I was about to do it, Dan from Swang Biz, a lot of people know his black 11 or GTS coupe that has the 11 front on it. If I call it 11, I will upset Jacob and other purists. But
oh my God,
yeah. So the GTS coupe with the 11 front on it, Dan put that up for sale, and I basically went through the parts list, and it was exactly what I wanted to do to my red coupe to get it drift ready, plus more. And his price was great, and I started thinking about it, and I was like, I'm sitting on a stock GTS coupe. I could sell that, sell all my parts that I have for it, and hop into Danny's car, and honestly end up saving a lot of money by doing it that way. So
no, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, because every dollar you put into an 8.6 goes down like 75 cents as soon as you spend the money. Like, it's not like investing in these cars makes them worth more money.
Yeah, I mean, just the physical time and labor to put into a car like that also.
Yeah, exactly. So, I was like, what, Danny, this is like the perfect car for me right now. I think, if he put it up at like 3 p.m, I think I had PayPal'd him by 3:30, and he shipped the car from California to New Jersey for me.
Yeah, that's wild. His the price on that car too was like, even I considered, like, I was planning the logistics, like, drive down to LA,
Yeah, no, it was
just like how
it was good. For anyone listening that didn't see the post, it went up for $9,000, and that's GTS coupe with a rebuilt 20 valve, rebuilt T50 in it that has the M Factory 5th gear, and then a rebuilt rear end with a 1.5 way LSD in the back. And the chassis is stitch welded. It had bucket seats, some really cool stuff. It had like an S2000 cluster, had 11 front, custom wiring harness that Danny did. So it was packed with stuff, which was really cool.
Have you been able to like really drive that car yet?
Not. Yes, I have actually. I've done one drift event on it. And then two kind of just like drift days. There's a at Englishtown Racetrack, where in New Jersey, right where kind of near New York, there is a service called East Coast Drift School, and basically you can go and take drift lessons or just rent the track hourly to kind of take some refreshers before the season starts, which is awesome. So I've done a couple of those. So I did like one day in the rain, one day in the dry, and then did one drift event. And it's been great. It's an awesome car.
Yeah, I imagine. I was like, I was surprised how fast it sold. And then when I found out you were the one who bought it, I was like, all right, well, good. It's still in good hands.
I'm trying to keep it clean and just like keep adding nice touches to it. I say it's a drift car. I have no intention of like beating it up or doing anything like that. Danny built a really nice car, and I just want to maintain it nicely and add some little additions to it and kind of get through the 2020 drift season whenever that starts. And then maybe next year is when I'll kind of try to put my own style on it. Probably go for a repaint and do some aero and stuff like that. But until then, it's really just keeping it running and driving and doing some additions.
Yeah. And it's really good to hear that, I mean, you've done, basically 3 events in that car. I know Danny mentioned to me that like whoever he sells the car to, he really wants someone to like really use the car because it's like purpose built by him. Like the worst thing is for that car the buyer to like let that car sit and rot, right?
Totally. And I also I think there's a valiant effort made by some people to try and reverse what's already been done to 8.6s sometimes. Like I was selling a hatch that was an ex-rally car at one point. It was just a shell, but it was like completely gutted. It had been rallied, so it was obviously beat up, and it had a roll cage in it. And people were hitting me up to buy it, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take the roll cage out and restore it." And I'm like, some of these are just too far gone. This is not the project to do that on. And Danny's car is that same way. I don't think, that this chassis is not fit for a restoration or anything, nor do I think it should be. It is purpose built for the track, and that's where I want to keep it.
So we won't go too much into what's going on in the world, because I'm sure everyone else, you're tired of hearing bad news, right? But
yeah, absolutely.
I seen on your Instagram. Have you been able to work on your car during this time?
Yeah, actually. So that's pretty much one of the only things I can do, which is nice. I think last time when I was on the podcast, we talked about how it's very difficult to be a car guy in New York because you really just don't have any space. So since then, I got a garage that I'm splitting with Hosen from Progression D. We have a garage space that's 15 minutes from Englishtown. So we're right near the track, which is awesome. And it's about an hour 15 from my apartment in New York. So I can pretty much, during this quarantine period, I can hop in my car, which is parked right in front of my apartment, drive out to New Jersey, go to the garage, and drive back without seeing a soul or really running into anyone or making any contact. So it's kind of like my quarantine in the middle of the woods, kind of a safe haven during this point where I can just keep working on the car and getting it drift prepped for the season whenever it ends up starting.
So you still have that red hatchback?
This one's a red coupe that I still have. That was the car that I was gonna build and then replaced with Danny's, basically. I've been trying to sell it, but just not too actively because it's parked 2.5 hours away from New York at my friend John's house.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of a thing where it's if somebody on Facebook's like, "Hey, can I come check it out tomorrow?" I'm like, no, because it's hard to coordinate going to show it. So
yeah.
It's not killing me having an extra GTS just sitting around. So I'm happy to sit on it, and it'd be cool if at some point a friend is like, "Oh, I really want an 8.6," and I can just hand it off very easily. That would be an ideal thing. But man, it's very easy to buy 8.6s, but it's very difficult to sell them. So I never want to. I never want to let them go.
It's interesting the dynamic where it's you guys have a place to store the car, but it's hours away. Where in the Bay Area, there's no place to store the car.
Yeah,
so it's you gotta figure out a situation, right? No matter what coast you're on, but no matter what, it's not easy.
Yeah, you got to figure something out. My thought process was that I'd rather drive further from New York, but put the garage as close to the track as possible, because it just
oh yeah,
it eliminate because I was thinking, I'm like, all right, what now? I'm going to be doing a lot of drift events, so maybe I want to get a truck and a trailer, but then where am I going to keep the truck and the trailer? So I feel Danny's car is a pretty. I'm also trying to phase out calling it Danny's car. At some point, I need to really take ownership of it. It's been 6 months, but that car, it's a pretty aggressive drive on the street. It is low and it is loud and it is very every panel in the thing shakes. So, 15 minutes is a nice amount of time to drive it on the road. My first drift event with it was in the Poconos, which was 2.5 hours away.
Oh, wow.
And I drove it there, and it was aggressive. And then driving it back, it was pouring rain, and the car doesn't have windshield wipers because Danny's been driving it in the desert for the last 10 years. So I was every time I would stop the car, I'd be reaching out with some shop rags trying to clear my windshield off. It was just a nightmare. So I was like, okay, you know what? It's time to get a garage near a track.
So you drove that car, that 11-fronted car, 2.5 hours to the drift event, and then drove back 2.5 hours.
Yeah. So
oh my god,
it is. Oh my god. It has been tested. 5 hours of street driving plus a full day of drifting, and it held up great. No complaints. Didn't hiccup once. Yeah, there was one point. There was actually one point where I was I would throw it into a corner and I would lose power for a second, and I was confused why all my throttle response would go away. And then I realized I was just low on gas, and I topped it up, and it was back again. So no real complaints.
If you can, if you have like any topics you want to bring up or like questions you want to ask me, feel free. I know I've been talking the whole time, so
yeah, I'm trying to think. So it's been about a year since I've seen you. I feel like the Autohaus has changed a lot since then, right? You're a full-time Autohaus now.
Yeah, so I definitely full-time. I quit my day job December of last year, and I've been here full-time since then.
Congrats. That's a huge step.
Oh, thank you, man. I really appreciate it. It was definitely let me tell you, I'll tell you. So it was like a huge, like leap in faith, and then also like leap in like believing in myself. And I'll tell you one thing that really helps me, and like I really wanted to thank you, is that I think you heard on my last solo podcast, but so quit my job, driving home like with all my work stuff, going back to the shop, and like sinking feeling like, oh man, what did I do, right? And I remember getting back, and someone earlier said, like, I think you were the one who said like, hey, you need to start a Patreon. And sure enough, yeah, you were the one my first supporter on Patreon, and I was like, all right.
I mean, I'm so happy
cool,
I could
like
do that. That makes me so happy to hear.
Yeah, so definitely like you supporting me on Patreon, that finding out you did that night, and then someone else like bought some stickers off the store, and I was like, all right, so I should be doing all right. Like, this is a good sign. Man, but yeah, thank you so much, Eric.
Oh,
yeah,
dude, of course.
Yeah.
I am there's something about Corollas, man. There's a certain magic to it, even outside of the car, just the whole community. But yeah, oh my God, like, you've found a way to base a whole business around these quirky little 80s Corollas. Like, there's absolutely no way that I wouldn't support somebody doing that. That's such a cool thing.
Yeah, again, like, I sincerely appreciate it. I'm still like, I've like the level of stress and the amount of work has like increased exponentially since I've been running this full time, and I'm still trying to like work out kinks, like how do I make this work? How do I make this sustainable for the long run, right?
Totally. I mean, yeah, because it's like the niche of all niches to run a business like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like people are coming in pretty frequently from what I've seen on Instagram. Do you feel like people are starting to travel further to get to you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, yeah, speaking of further, the car we have in the shop right now, he actually has owned this car, like bought and sold this car 3 times for the past 15 years. So he's been the owner for like the past 15 years.
Oh my
on and
God.
off. And then, yeah, it's been on every coast. So like it was like in New York, in like the East Coast. It was in the last place it was in Texas. It's been in California before. And then, so he moved back to California. And so straight off the tow truck from Texas, it came to the shop.
That's wild. That's incredible that he was able to get it back that many times.
But yeah, speaking of people that what's it called, travel long distances, I guess this is my first one that's like from out of state, right?
I mean, that's super exciting though. For me, like as soon as I got my hatch like reliable, I was like, great, this is wonderful. Now I can drive from New York to California so Ezekiel can work on my car. That's what I want. Ideally, I would like land at the Autohaus just as my transmission blows up and then get a new one from you.
Oh man. What's it called? Big endeavor, but I guess the More Skids kids kind of did the same thing, so it's not impossible.
Dude, I can't believe they did that. Because Quentin had hit me up, and I told him, I was like, yeah, you can park in my driveway once you get to Brooklyn, and I had faith in them, but I guess I should have had more faith in the car. I was like, they can park here, but I'm not quite sure if they're actually going to make it here. But they did, and he was here for like a week, and it was every time I walked out of my door, I would see his car, and I'm like, I can't believe this thing made it here. That is truly wild to me.
Of course, you follow like what they're doing to the car right now as of late, right?
Yeah, I'm hyped on it. I think it looks sick.
Yeah, I think, man,
I think he did a really nice job with the paint, honestly, and like he's like the car runs now with the beams in it. I'm super hyped about that swap for him.
Yeah, I mean, good on them for like being in their position and like attempting like that level of work to that car. And yes, yeah, it starts and runs now.
Yeah, that was quick too. Like tackling a paint job like that is a lot, because it's not like the car was it's a clean car for like a 30-year-old Corolla, but it wasn't a perfect car. It wasn't like the perfect slate to start painting on. They had to like really learn to do some body work, and then they laid the paint down extremely cleanly. So I'm super impressed. And honestly, I was a little nervous when they were like, we're going with the N2 flares, because I think it's a look that was done so well by the N2 racers, but a look that can like just be kind of cringy when people do it to a street car. But it looks so good. It looks awesome. Yeah. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the color, just the way the car sits. It looks amazing. I'm so hyped on it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I've seen those N2 kits in like a certain shade of color, and the car's like, like you said, a little bit cringy. It's like, if you don't do the TRD colorway, like usually the N2 kit doesn't really work, but they've made it work. Yeah, like you said, it's the color or something, but it definitely looks great with that kit.
Yeah,
in that color.
I'm super proud of them for doing that, because I also, their channel's so good because they did such a good job documenting their entire experience with cars, from like the early point where they had no idea what they were doing to now they're like building this 8.6 that is like, engine swapped and everything swapped and beautifully painted and beautifully styled. Like, it's such over like, there are like 100+ videos. Like, you can watch them go from having no idea what they're doing to building a car that I think makes everyone envious that sees it. So it's a really cool transformation.
No, likewise. Yeah, I totally agree.
They also I think they do a really good job at their videos of making it feel like you're just hanging out with them. Because it was, when they came out to New York to hang, and I was like, yeah, like, it's nice to meet you guys. That was almost a weird thing to say, because it's like, yeah, I guess we are meeting for the first time right now, but I feel like I've also been hanging out with you guys for years, because your videos are just so inclusive of the viewer, which is cool. So I think it really keeps people hooked.
Yeah, definitely.
DJ has the S13 on that channel, and I love that car. He's like, I don't know what it is about it, but he just like, he grabbed that car, blew the KA and tossed another KA in it, and just threw some like basic aero on it, and it just looks so cool. It is like such a good 90s vibe. I love that thing. I can't wait to see both of them out on track together.
Yeah, that group definitely has like a cool collection of cars.
They really do. What's going on with your car? How's it been?
My car doesn't see a lot of time out of the garage these days, unfortunately.
I guess that's a result of you working on 8.6s so much that you don't have a chance to drive 8.6s right now.
Yeah. It's funny because Grant's car is always at the shop, and every time there's a new customer, they say like, that one must be yours, right? The coupe. And I'm like, no, mine's been at home for a long
Grant's
time.
Is somewhere at least. I feel like for the first few years I knew Grant, I couldn't even see what his car looked like because it was just never around. So I'm glad it's out.
Oh yeah, and then whenever the next time you're in California, Grant's car should be ready to go. It's got that impulse transmission in it now.
No way! I didn't realize it was in. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have a little bit of fab work to do, but I mean, otherwise, like it runs and drives. So
damn, that's so cool. Oh yeah, I mean, that's a reason for me to come back out, even if I don't have any other reason to be there. That's great. I want to drive that.
No, all of us do. It's just like, man, unfortunately, the common theme is just like all of us is so busy here, like not even time to enjoy our own cars.
I feel that. I don't know if Grant showed you the photo, but speaking of not ever seeing Grant's cars, in I think it was 2016, I was a photographer on Warped Tour, and we happened to be in California the same day as 8.6 Fest.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up like shooting a set early that day at Warped Tour, and then immediately leaving and going to 8.6 Fest. And this is before I knew pretty much anybody in the 8.6 community. I hadn't flipped my gray coupe yet. It was very early on. And I photographed a bunch of cars that day. I felt like a kid at Disneyland. It was just like the craziest experience to me. And I was digging through those photos this week, and I actually have a photo of Grant's hatch next to Danny's Levin. So I photographed my car.
Oh, wow.
Like 4 years ago, and I photographed Grant's car and took photos of Grant before I knew who he was and stuff. So it was funny to go through those and have context now of all these people. I photographed Jacob's car that day. I didn't know at the time. So
wow.
It's funny to go through now and be like, oh my God, I've seen all these cars. Actually, this car that I bought sight unseen, quote unquote, being Danny's Levin, I had actually seen and photographed. So it's weird to think about.
Hey, so that was 8-6 Fest at Fontana in
yes,
SoCal?
I believe so.
Do you remember if they were running I think there was one year it was a combination with Global Time Attack and like the Corollas could run full track that day? Was it that one?
Yes, it was that day.
Oh, okay, cool. I was there too, by the way.
Were you? Oh my God. Everybody was there. That would be such a different experience now if I went to 8-6 Fest 2016 for me. I just like walked around by myself. I didn't know a single person. I was just like floored by all the cars, but that's so funny.
Yeah, it's funny because that was the last real 8-6 Fest where the Corollas got together. So yeah, that one was really memorable for me. So the picture up in the in our waiting room, that's the same track and like similar event where it was like we had an all Corolla run group on the track.
Oh, that's so good. I would love to see that again.
We've been trying to make it happen, but like it's tough to coordinate with the SoCal guys. Usually what happens is like I'll see a picture on Instagram like, hey, we were all at Button Willow. And then I'll make a comment like, hey, you guys didn't invite us again.
Yeah, seriously. Somebody, 8-6 Day this year, you guys need to get it together and do something right in the middle of you guys and just shred all day.
Yeah, definitely. It's just been like a logistics thing because like Button Willow is like 3 hours for both of us. And then a lot of the SoCal guys been wanting to do Laguna one of these summers just because Laguna is so iconic.
Yeah,
but
Laguna is Laguna. Yeah,
hopefully, man, maybe next time you can come out here. We'll let you do a track day with us too. That'd be cool.
I would love
also.
to. I have to say, my friend Nick and I think you've talked to Nick a bunch before, right? Bay 86.
Yeah.
Nick and I have definitely looked into the like how much it would cost to round trip ship our cars to California for an event, and like the pricing goes way down the more cars you get. So if we can get like 7 or 8 East Coast 8-6 people that would be willing to go to California, we can just load a full truck of 8-6s and send it out.
Oh, okay.
The idea of getting more than just Nick and I to get in on such a stupid idea is improbable, but I still want to try.
I guess from New York to California is a little different, but they do that in NorCal, where it's like a lot of the guys even further up north in Berkeley, they'll contract out like a big trailer and get like 5 cars down to Grange in SoCal for
that
for
makes
Matsuri.
Sense. That totally makes sense to me. Yeah, there was. I think I unfortunately I bought the car from Danny like right after Matsuri. I was like, God damn, it would have been so good to just buy it, go out there, drive, and then ship it to New Jersey. But unfortunately, the timing wasn't right.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Like, drive the car in its California home, and then like drive it back when you get it back home too.
But we'll see. I really want to drive out to California in the hatch. So hopefully at some point I can make it out to hang with you guys in my car.
Yeah. Or, I mean, otherwise I think Grant's pretty willing to let anyone drive his car.
That is great news.
If anything, I bet you, we can, I bet you if you come down, we'll find you a Corolla to drive. Yeah,
I'm going to take your word on that as a verbal contract for Grant. So if he's feeling hesitant about it, I will make him listen to this episode of the podcast and be like, Ezekiel said I could, man. Sorry. I'm taking it out.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Sorry, Grant. I guess I said it.
You made it real. But that's super exciting. I'm glad the Autohaus is doing so well right now. I was listening to the solo podcast you did. It's cool that you have those long-term projects in, because I feel like Corollas are definitely going that way right now.
Okay. So long-term projects are I guess there's positive and negative to everything, but like, man, long-term projects is, so on the plus, long-term projects, I like to see the car through from start to finish. And then also a lot of these, all of these projects, I'll like shake down myself. Like I'll drive it home and then like drive it back and make sure everything's all right. And then it's also like regular work, right? Like I can down the car and then get back to it. The stressful part about long-term projects though is that there's just so much on my plate and like so much to keep track of.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine trying to like wrap your head around a full project like that, because like even like, when all of us have like our own 8.6 long-term projects, we're all building our own cars, and it's like you pretty much just have to go into it with an open wallet. Like there's not a great way to budget for it. Yet that's actually your job, to budget for it and figure out exactly how much it's going to cost, which is crazy because I can't imagine trying to actually budget out an 8.6 build.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is like, I mean, you probably know well enough. There's always a surprise, and then I'm the one who got to call the customer and be like, "Hey, surprise! It's not a good one."
It's never a good surprise, ever.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm really fortunate that like all my all my customers in general have been like really understanding. I mean, I hear it all the time. They'll be like, "Yeah, I know it's Corolla problems."
It is cool though to think like there's going to be cars on the road that you can be like, or the owner can be like, "This car was restored by Ezekiel at Autohaus." Like that's way cooler than like the water pump was done by Ezekiel at Autohaus. Like that is like, restored by is like such a sick overarching thing. Like you have such a fingerprint on the car at that point.
I know Grant was saying too, like a couple cars that have come in, Grant's been like really impressed. Like, hey man, this thing was only like a couple years away from going to the crusher, and like you're the one who brought it back. And I was like, wow, I didn't even like think of it that way.
Dude, you're saving them. They're a dwindling asset. You are bringing them back. That's super exciting. I'm glad they're coming to you for restoration, because like that is such an important part of the culture now, because if people just keep beating on them nonstop and taking good cars and really just beating the hell out of them, there's not going to be any left.
No, I totally agree. And I think part of that too is what we both do as content creators is, give this content to the world to, for the culture of it, right? Like,
I
renew the spirit of
I also
go ahead.
flipped my car, so I have destroyed a good one. So now, really, content creating for me is just like repenting my sins on this and trying to like add to the community to apologize for destroying a good chassis.
No, what's it called? That happened because you were using the car as intended, not because you were purposely trying to destroy the car.
That is true. I definitely was not trying to trash it. That was a weird accident.
But yeah, I mean, another thing about me producing content, because like totally transparent, like the content doesn't make me money, but what I like to see is, I'll get messages from people like, wow, I haven't like heard this much enthusiasm about Corolla stuff, in like multiple decades, right?
Yeah, it's nice to see, like all of the really good info about the 8.6 and how to tune it and how to take care of it and maintain it is all kind of trapped in the forums and the broken photo bucket links that exist on, Club 4AG and hachiroku.net and stuff, until you started to bring it to YouTube, which is, the de facto place to get your car information now. So it's great to see you kind of bringing all of that forum information that is on the verge of being lost forever, but is just hanging on by like the last thread of the internet, and modernizing it so that we can learn how to work on these cars. I think there's a modernizing the 8.6 seems to be a general thing, whether it's information about them or the car itself. So I'm glad that you're the one to take the Club 4AG forum torch and bring it to the a new year.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. That's definitely out of necessity for me too, because like the volume of Corollas I see, if you can imagine, I see a lot of like uncharted territory.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. So like there's stuff like did you watch one of my YouTube videos, the climate control cable upgrade?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So yeah, that one was out of necessity. Like I had to dig really deep and try to figure out things from scratch to figure out so Jeff Lang is the one who that wasn't even on a Corolla forum. I found that on like some Club Lexus forum, and
Oh, amazing.
luckily and he posted it in like, like other car projects, and like trying to figure out like, oh, are these the right part numbers? And then of course write like the broken photo bucket links, and I'm like, well, I guess I'm gonna buy the parts and find out.
Yep. Well, you're taking one for the team to figure it out. I actually, I'm not sure if it works or not. I've never tried it, but there is apparently a plug-in extension for Chrome that fixes broken photo bucket links. So,
oh yeah,
yeah. Have you used that?
Yeah, I've used it before, but something was clunky with it.
Okay, so it's not.
But
like
I mean, at least
I thought
it
it might
still
be
works.
the answer to everyone's problems, but it sounds like it still has its hang-ups.
Yeah, the problem too is like other forums, there'll be other stuff like TinyPic and other like photo hosting where it's like the photo's completely gone now.
It's so weird. I mean, it makes sense. I don't know why we all trusted these like very strange image hosting websites to hold our like only copy of a photo, but that's I guess that's how it was at the beginning of the internet.
Yeah. I mean, when I was like 12 and using PhotoBucket, your 12-year-old self probably didn't care, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you know what? Actually, speaking of the, I remembered something I wanted to talk about. Speaking of the climate control cables, have we talked about the air conditioning heating system I put in my hatch?
No, that's a great topic. Let's talk about that.
Okay, so actually, I thought of it because the my climate control cables were all shot, and you know how it is. They like all seize up, and it's like it's actually harder to like switch it from heat to air conditioning than it is to like turn the car without power steering. Like the air conditioning bezel's like the more stiff part. So yeah, in trying to like, I really wanted air conditioning for the hatch. It's like such a restoration car, and I wanted to really enjoy it, all 12 months of the year. And while I was trying to source air conditioning parts, just trying to source everything I would need to make it cold in the car, it was just annoying to do. And I realized like, okay, like even if I get everything, best case scenario, it all works, and I have a 30-year-old air conditioner that kind of blows coldish. And like, it just wasn't worth it to me to like go through all that hassle to then have some not great air conditioning. So yeah, I started looking into the Vintage Air system. Vintage Air it's like a custom air conditioning system. They offer a few different systems depending on the size of your car, for anyone that doesn't know about it. And there's they do it in a lot of like hot rods and stuff like that. I had first seen one in there's a 240Z in California that has one that posted some photos of it online, and it had never even crossed my mind that you could put a modern air conditioning system into an old car, but that's what they do. So I was looking into it, and one of the only shops, there's like, I think it was like 10 shops in the country that are Vintage Air certified, and one of them happened to be 45 minutes from where I keep my hatch. So it just worked out incredibly well. So I gave them a call. It was this hot rod shop in New Jersey, and I explained, I was like, hey, like I have this, you work on hot rods. I have a Toyota Corolla but it's the cool one, and then like try to like backpedal to explain that it's not a lame car. And I'm like, can I come bring it in and show it to you, and you can tell me if you can put air conditioning in it? And they've been doing these systems for like 15 years, and they just kind of went under my dash, tried to assess how much space there was, and they were confident that they could put one of the Vintage Air systems in. And they had it for like a week and a half, and I got it back, and I now they took out all of my heating, all my air conditioning, and put totally 100% brand new stuff in there from Vintage Air. And I now have modern heat and air conditioning. And I even it's like an electronically controlled heating air conditioning control that sits right where the OEM heating air conditioning controls were. So it's incredible.
Yeah, when I saw pictures, I was like, oh my God, it looks incredible. And I think that's one of the biggest requests I get right now is like, can you get AC back in my car, or my car has AC? Can you fix it so it works again? Yeah, definitely like part of this like trend of restoration, getting OEM stuff back onto the car, like working like factory or better right now. That's a big trend right now.
Yeah, I think that like the Vintage Air system for my car did take a while. Not a while, it was a week and a half, but it took them a lot of hours. They spent a lot of time on it because they had to make a lot of custom brackets and like fab up some parts that would connect the Vintage Air tubing to the vents, the OEM vents in the car, because I wanted to make sure that everything looked as OEM as possible. But I feel like if you were to take those measurements and like be able to have somebody print those brackets up, it would be a fairly straightforward install. So it'd be awesome to see somebody do a kit, because I think a lot of people could really benefit from some modern air conditioning. It makes the car unbelievably comfortable.
Doing my own research, have you seen that they make drop-in AC kits for Datsun?
Oh, I didn't realize
like classic Datsun. Yeah, so I've seen you can buy drop-in AC kits, and I've seen two different versions, right? Where it's like the car never came with AC and it's the whole thing, or like engine bay only. So let's say you bought a car with like all the engine bay AC stuff out, and you can just buy that part.
Got it.
And
okay.
It retrofits onto the car. Yeah.
That's cool.
I think everyone would love to see that for Corollas. It's just like what company or what shop is willing to undertake that, right?
Yeah, I'll have to share it with you. I have the full parts list for my car, because we basically did it in the way that we acted like the car never had air conditioning to begin with. It's basically anything that's HVAC related is now just Vintage Air stuff. So we're not going through any of the old stuff. The only old thing in the car is just the vents that the system's hooked up to, but everything else is brand new.
Uh-huh.
So I'll have to send you that parts list, and then maybe if I ever drive my car out there, if you ever want to take some measurements of the brackets that were made, maybe you can make some brackets and be able to make a kit out of it, because it seems like it could be fairly straightforward, which would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. If you would, I'd love to if you could share the parts list, and then even like engine bay pictures of what that stuff looks like. I mean, I mean, even just for my knowledge, I'd love to see what that stuff looks like.
Yeah, I'll take a photo of it. The compressor is huge, but it fits really nicely, and it definitely all works really well. The first drive that I did after I picked it up from that shop, I basically I didn't have heat in the car before either, so I was just victim to whatever the temperature was outside. So the first drive with that new system, I basically just cranked the heat until I was way too hot, and then I put the air conditioning on until I was way too cold, and just like enjoyed being able to, I felt like a god just being able to control the climate of the car.
Similarly, I know what you mean, where it's like I get a Corolla in here that's pretty much stock and everything works, and it's like, wow, it's comfortable. I turn the AC on and it's cold in here. Like, amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah, just that's why there's a lot of people that this is like the exact kind of reason that when you see a Corolla go up on Bring a Trailer and it sells for like $30,000 stock, it's like, yeah, that was worth it. Like, you know how much it costs to make a Corolla function like a stock low mile Corolla? Like, it's an unbelievable number.
Yeah. Or the other thing too is like when customer cars come in and they're like missing original stuff, like brackets for pulleys and stuff, they'll be like, where do you find this now? And I gotta say, like, man, you gotta dig.
Yeah.
You gotta dig if you want to find that part again.
Yeah, it is it's never an easy search. I can't imagine like trying to own an 8.6 but also being someone that doesn't have a Facebook or like use the internet that much. Like, imagine trying to do any of this without the community, just working off of like having the car and trying to buy things on Craigslist. You wouldn't get anywhere.
You know what's interesting? Do you know I have that Corolla wagon right now?
Yes, it's so sick.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Dude, so that's kind of what I'm going through with the Corolla wagon right now. It's like, unfortunately, the Facebook groups kind of suck for the TE chassis.
There's just no community there?
Or like, yeah, there's like no community, or like everyone's in, outside of the country, right? Like Puerto Rico or Malaysia. So it's like the 3TC forums are dead. The Facebook group is not very good. So like here I am stuck. Like, well, I guess I'm gonna figure this out.
Do you follow or subscribe to the YouTube account Go Time?
Go Time.
Yeah, they're
like
GOTIME, just Go Time with an exclamation point. Actually,
okay.
But they're two Australian dudes that basically they both have. Oh my god, I'm so bad with the earlier Corollas. I guess they're KE70s. They're both 4-doors, but they seem to have a really good community of Corolla owners out there. The KE70 owners, so they could be good people to hit up.
But again,
still Australia.
That's a really. Yeah. I mean, thanks for the lead, but yeah, still Australia. I guess. I mean, living in the Bay Area, I'm spoiled where it's like, if I need, like, someone needs some obscure part, like someone in NorCal probably has it. So I guess I'm spoiled in that way.
Yeah, all my parts still come from California, so you're in the heart of it. But that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about the fact the community there might not be what you need it to be. I guess the luck there is that so much of the A86 stuff can go into that chassis fairly easily. Mm-hmm. But I'm sure that there's still those weird specific parts you're going to need that are going to be tricky to find.
I don't know if you knew this, but do you know how like similar the TE chassis was to the AE86?
It's like crazy similar, right? You can like bolt the suspension on no problem.
So like, you know Lance, right?
Yes.
That guy Lance Car.
Yeah. So
his 83 has like all Corolla stuff on it. Like the subframe is factory subframe is basically a Corolla. It's got a Ford AC. He has Corolla coilovers, Corolla catback. Yeah, it's pretty much a 4-door AE86.
That's crazy to me. I really want one. They're really sick. I need to avoid buying one, but I really want one.
So the problem with mine is that 82 was like the cutoff year, so I still got like a steering box instead of rack and pinion.
Oh, okay.
And also the other thing that makes mine weird is like only on a wagon you got leaf springs in the back.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so like mine being 82 and a wagon makes it extra weird, like extra oddball.
Yeah,
to find parts now.
That's an uphill battle for you. Grant has one too, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what year his is, but he's also got a TE wagon.
So funny that it's you two that have them.
Yeah, dude, I bought mine, and I was like, because I've never seen his run. I was like, dang it, man, I should have just bought yours.
Yeah, I can't believe that I've never seen him post about that car. I know it exists on the Battle Garage website, and that's the only place I've ever seen it.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that blue wagon, the only place you'll see it is on the Battle Garage website.
Yeah. That's going to be a cool car, though.
No, definitely. It's been interesting. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I know I've noticed in NorCal that TE chassis is getting a big resurgence, like a big following.
Yeah, I think it's happening everywhere, honestly. It's like starting to be very popular. That channel Go Time is super entertaining, and they're awesome guys. Did you meet Dylan? He is from Australia, and he came to NorCal, and I know he met up with like Grant and people.
Yeah, we held a special meet for him, yes. And then Grant gave him a ride in my car.
Okay, there you go. Great. So that Dylan is Go Time.
Yeah.
His K70 is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, he and all his friends all have KEs, and they're all like 4AG swapped, and they're very sick. But yeah, ever since watching their videos, I've been like trying to look for one, kind of passively because it's a horrible idea. But they're actually really hard to find.
Yeah.
I have more trouble finding one of those on Craigslist than I do finding an 8.6.
I would totally agree with you. Like the first Friday I went to, I think we saw every variant. Whereas like you get a 2-door one, you get a 4-door, a liftback, a wagon. We saw every variant, and I was like, they're so rare now that it's like, man, I forgot that thing came in a liftback also.
There's actually one that sold. I didn't realize it was even for sale until I saw a friend going to pick it up. But there was one that sold last weekend for $5,000 that had a running beam swap in it, which is a great price for that.
We have one in NorCal that has a beam swap in it, but it's not a great price.
Got it.
But it's a good car.
Have you dealt with beam swaps yet at Autohaus?
No, No, I haven't actually. I've done one 20 valve car.
Have you been like all 16 valve?
16 and then the GZE, the supercharged one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I have 2 AW11 GZE customers, and then all my Corolla customers are like 16, and then a couple 20 valve customers. But yeah, no like crazy swap ones have come in here yet.
Huh, that's surprising. Especially, I figured you just naturally would have had more 20 valves. That's wild though.
I think one thing.
How do you feel about the beams in the 8.6?
Oh, oh man. It's tough. Like, so for people who are adamant about wanting to drift that car, I would say beams is the answer, just because like strong engine, strong trans, parts are plentiful and cheap for beams right now. I mean, if you're like really adamant about drifting your Corolla, beams is probably the way to go. But I mean, I have a tough time if like, you know, someone's got like a clean, like close to virgin Corolla and like, oh, I want to put a swap in it. Like, man, I'm still pretty pure about like that thing really needs a underpowered 4A in it.
No, I agree with you. I feel like maybe this is wrong to a lot of people, but I feel like the 16 valve is like restoration. 20 valve is like if you're trying to do like an OEM plus kind of street car, like just kind of like a quick street car. And then beams is like, I think the easiest go-to motorsport engine for the car right now.
Yeah. I think one thing I'm okay with that's really fun is 7A. So
7A, I mean 7A is wildly cool.
Yeah, I have one. Yeah, Jackie's been on the podcast. I have one customer who has a 7A. She bought that car unknowingly. Like she didn't.
Right. Yeah, it was a surprise 7A.
Yeah, the surprise 7A.
It's the best kind of 7A in the world.
But yeah, I think like
that is too cool
for like a street car. If you had like a 7A bottom end, that's like great, like reliable, and then all the like, you know, way more low end torque, which is like odd for a Corolla, right?
Yeah, but honestly, I'm sure it's welcomed. I've never felt it in a Corolla because we don't have any of it, but I'm sure that a little bit of low end torque would be nice.
I think that's one thing why Grant's car is so amazing, because it's got like the low end of a 7A, and then like it's got big power up top also.
What engine's in his car?
It's a built 7A bottom end, and then silver top 20 valve head.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
I feel like I know Grant so well, and then I learned something about him that I just like comes out of left field, and I'm like, oh, I guess Grant and I don't really talk enough, huh?
Yeah.
'Cause every time I hear about his car, I learn something completely different.
Well, I guess he's pretty humble. Like his car's amazing. That engine's amazing, but like he's a pretty humble guy. I imagine that's why he doesn't like talk or like brag about it, right?
I know. Every time I try to get details on his car, I need to like pull it out of him. He is a very humble guy.
Yeah. I more often than not, he'll just be like, "Oh yeah, my car's kind of junky."
That's, oh my God, it's understatement of the year.
No, totally.
Yeah, I need to come out and be in Grant's car. I also deeply miss driving your car. I did that like one little bit around the business park and on the highway right near the shop, and oh my God, I love your car so much.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. Once in a while, like I know once in a while, like I'll be on my on the way out of the house and I'll see like the sun's outside and I'll be like, you know what? It's a waste not to drive my car. So I'll
there you go.
Yeah. So I'll like pull one of my other cars like to the side just so I can get the car out of the garage and be like, yeah, it's a waste not to drive this car in this day. And definitely when I drive it, I'm reminded like, okay, you know, should be driving this thing, enjoying this car more often.
Man, it's so good. I love your car. It's so perky. Like it really wants to rev, and like when you like put your foot down in first, it really wants to rotate. I don't know. I really enjoy driving your car. It is just so much fun.
Well, thanks, man. It means a lot to me. I've definitely had a long time and many adventures and many hard nights with that car. So
that is the Corolla way.
Yeah, of course.
I'm trying to think what else has been going on. man, I haven't gotten to drive my car that much since getting it painted. It pretty much like I got it back from paint in November, and at that point, like the roads were just about to be salted again. So it's kind of been away for the winter. It got painted up in New Hampshire, and then I drove it down to New Jersey where it's been stored. So that was like a 6.5 hour drive, which was awesome to be able to like, you know, not have the car for months and then get in it and drive it all day. But otherwise I've just done like a couple, like, you know, go out and drive it for an hour, little excursions. But I am excited. I just got a garage in Brooklyn, which it's a tiny little garage. It'll fit, you know, my 8.6 and maybe a shelf, but it's just enough room for me to keep the car up here and on a nice day be able to hop in the car, get out of the city, and try and just go drive and enjoy it more casually.
Yeah, I saw in your Instagram. What have you been working on your car?
Oh, so I haven't done much. The hatch is pretty much there. I haven't done much to that at all. On the coupe, the Levin fronted coupe, I've just been doing like basic maintenance to it. Just kind of doing little. I don't think Danny had driven the car for a few years prior to me buying it from him. So just things to make sure everything's going to be good to go. Nick and I just did the timing belt, bunch of fluid changes. I put the Danny had 30 millimeter stacks on there, and I just put the Tec Art 100 millimeter stacks. So I'm super hyped on those. And then I've just been doing a little bit of like interior cleanup. He had some windshield cracks that I fixed. Nothing too crazy. One of the gauges wasn't working, and we rewired that. Just kind of stuff to get it back up and running and give it some attention so that I can confidently drive it a bunch this year.
Do those does that filter fit over the 100 mil stacks?
The ITG filter does not. No matter, even if you get like an ITG that's built for the 100 millimeter stacks, like even if it's long enough, it's not really wide enough to get over the Tec Arts stacks because the mouth is so wide.
Yeah.
But the the Piper Cross filter does fit. You do have to like wiggle it a little bit, but it will go on there.
Oh, okay, awesome.
So if it was a centimeter smaller, it would not fit. It like just fits.
Speaking of Tec Arts, did you watch the last Hoonigan video when they went to Tec Arts?
I did.
How'd you feel about that?
I mean, it's just I actually watched it this morning. It's so good to just watch a video of Tec Arts. The place changes every time I see a photo or a video of it. I've been lucky enough to go 3 times now.
Oh, wow.
And it's been different every time I see it. But oh my God, they're the nicest people there. They are such a serious shop, obviously. They're building unbelievable race cars, but they're super welcoming to visitors. And every time we've gone, they've taken like a photo of us to put on their Facebook, us standing with them in front of the shop. It is, I mean, also we always spend way too much money when we do go there. So I'm sure that there's some appreciation on that end.
Yeah.
But the video was good though. I think they did a nice tour of it. What did you think?
Well, first of all, what has changed? Like the 3 times you went, and then like what you saw in the video, what's changed about the shop?
I guess mostly like I feel like the arrangement of the cars always changes. Nothing too drastic, but like one time like the Black Limited was like in the back of the shop. Now it's sitting outside. And
okay.
The shop is so cramped with so many cars around that I can't really imagine the game of Tetris they had to play to move it. And then also the upstairs, the Kamada-san's office has changed every time that I see a video. It seems like its form now is kind of its best form to service clients or people like actually wanting to go up and buy stuff. The first time we went, I think it was more all the like glass showcases and stuff were there, but it was more like if you wanted something, you really had to ask for it. Like you probably would have had to go on Tec Arts website beforehand, see what they sell, and then be like, hey, do you have this thing? But now it's kind of all out on display, which is nice.
Yeah, as far as what I thought about the video, I think they did a good job of going through the shop. I could see at times they needed a translator I think Larry
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, Larry mentioned at the end, like, yeah, none of us speak Japanese and none of them speak English. But I mean, I always like to see, the culture presented in like, I don't know what's like the right way to say it. Like when someone like brings life into the culture again, like it's cool to see like Hoonigan do that with like Hurt has a Corolla now, and then they're going to Tec Arts.
It's cool. Yeah, they're definitely breathing new life into it because, like, I feel like I'm sure that Tec Arts goes in waves. Like, it's a big tuning shop that people know about when the N2 races are going on, 25 years ago, but then it dives back down into like, obscurity unless you're in the know. But then once you're on like the Hoonigan YouTube channel, like you're putting that shop in front of people that might hardly know about the 8.6. So like, it's just new eyes on it, new viewership, and like it's such an incredible shop with an incredible group of people working there that it's awesome that more people can appreciate it.
Yeah. I think it's also amazing that like Tec Arts has been able to, survive and thrive like for multiple decades now. And like,
it is.
Yeah, Tec Arts is just like
it's amazing.
They're like Tec Arts is essentially like a privateer shop. They're not like an HKS or a Cusco,
Yeah, they're as niche as Autohaus is. It's the same kind of thing.
What's it called? You're too kind. Those two should not be in the same sentence, but
you're on your way, man.
But yeah, I mean, it always like doing small business. It like always like amazes me. Shops like Tec Arts or like more recently like BZ from BZ Moto, like multiple decades, you got those shops have been surviving and thriving, and weathered how many storms, how many like economic downturns, and here we are in 2020 and the shop is still thriving, right?
It's crazy. I think if you're passionate about something to the point that you're already like, something like a Tec Arts or a BC Moto is like so specialized, and you only really start that if you have your whole heart in it. It feels like no matter what happens, those businesses sometimes just stay afloat. Things just work out in the right way because the right people are behind it, the passion's there, and things just work out nicely.
Yeah. Have you ever talked to Jacob about his JDM Dad RS Yasu, that shop?
No, he referred to his JDM dad as dad to me for so long, and I was like, oh, that's interesting that Jacob's dad like lives in Japan. I'm interested in what Jacob's family life is like, and then I realized that that's not what he's talking about at all. That it's just like a man in Japan who has 8.6s that he calls dad. No, I haven't really talked to him about them that much.
Yeah, I thought Jacob, from what I understand, his business model is really interesting. It's like all his business is based on taking care of Corolla race customers, and he started that shop solely to take care of his own race cars. And I think it's pretty wild, like a business like that is sustainable, because for sure in the Bay Area that would never work, right?
Right, totally. Is there, I don't know if it's true or not. Does Japan not have the like built not bought mentality that the American car scene seems to have?
That'd be a good question to investigate, because you brought up a really good point.
Because I feel like if you want an 8.6 race car, you like go to Tec Arts. But if you're in America and you want an 8.6 race car and you like were to contract a race shop to build it for you, like everyone would think you're like a poser or like not serious about it, or like it just, the connotation's totally different here.
Yeah.
Which makes it harder for a business to thrive the way that I imagine a Tec Arts would.
I think the other thing too is like the space in Japan, whereas like it's normal for us, like the culture for like American culture, work on your car out in your driveway, where in Japan there is no driveway. So like that's
a good point too. The space just isn't there.
Yeah, there's like no like I've heard stories of people in Japan like go to like an off ramp on the freeway because that's the only space you have to work on your car.
That's insane. it is a good reminder that like you can do a lot with a little when you see somewhere like Tec Arts, which, you know, they're like an esteemed race car builder, and then you look in their shop and like there's just like it's cool, but there's shit everywhere in a nice way. Like, you know, it's just stacked with stuff and parts and things, and like it's not this like hyper organized shop. It's just a bunch of stuff. And like sometimes I'll be in my garage and I'll be like, I really want to get like a Snap-on box so I can do my oil changes. And it's like, Jesus Christ, like I need to stop thinking I need to buy more stuff. Like these dudes do so much with so little.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Like we have all we need to like do anything we want to do on these cars.
Yeah, to that point too, another common theme I've been hearing recently is like people will come in and be like, oh man, you know, if I had a lift, I would, you know, be doing so much more. But I think back to like, man, when I was running the Autohaus out of my garage, man, I put in a lot of work on my back just in my home garage, no lift, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, if you're not going to do it on the side of the road, then you're not going to do it in the garage. And if you're not going to do it in the garage, then you're not going to do it when you have a lift. So it's like, I think like that's really what it is about putting your heart in it. Like those people that have every tool that they could ever imagine to do the job, they all have it because they would be willing to do their job on their back by the curb if they had to.
I want to ask something. What did, so when I did the solo podcast, like I honestly felt bad. Like I felt like it was a cop out for me. I felt like, oh man, I couldn't schedule a guest in time, so I feel like I'm doing I'm like copping out by doing a solo episode. But it was completely opposite. Like I got a lot of positive response from that solo episode, and yeah, like the question I want to ask is like, what particularly for you did you like about the solo episode?
I guess it's the difference. Like, you know how like people would watch like the Tonight Show with Jay Leno to like watch him interview other people, and that was always exciting. But like, it's also exciting to watch Jay Leno's garage because you actually want to know about Jay Leno. Like, it's more about knowing about that person sometimes, and like, it's fun listening to you talk about your car and your business and what's going right and what you want to work on, and just like, kind of feels like it's very personal. It feels like a journal entry of sorts. It's like a nice check-in with you. Everybody can like see what you're up to, and like you're such a good host, and I love being on the podcast with you, and I love listening to you interview other people. But there's a lot of times I just want to know more about what you're doing and what you're driving and what you're building and how the business is going. So it's nice to hear you talk. Plus, I mean, you're so fucking knowledgeable about everything 8.6 that you have a lot to say that people want to hear.
Oh, well, man, you're too kind, man. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I guess that I should start doing, man, maybe I'll make it a regular thing then. Maybe, because typically right now, I've been missing one episode per month. So that one episode could probably be filled in with like a solo episode. Like you said, like a journal entry of just like what I've been doing. What's the shop been up to?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to hear that. And also, like, maybe there's a specific Corolla thing that you want to like deep dive on for 30 minutes. Like, I would listen to that too. Like, maybe it's like a rare part that people like rain guards, for example. People spend way too much money on rain guards. I've done it. It's just a piece of metal. Like, maybe talk about a rare part that people seem to really want, or like talk about just the trend in like the red line taillights for the coupe went from like $200 taillights to like the most expensive thing you can buy for a car.
Yep.
I think just like riffing on just some 8.6 topics that we all kind of feel, but don't really know why it is the way it is. I'd love to know. Are the rain guards rare? Like, was it a really rare factory option? Did it only come from, like, I know there was like Toyota dealership and then like Toyo Pet dealership. Did like one of them sell them, but the other one didn't? Like, I just don't know anything about some of the parts, you know?
No, it's funny. So many other topics or so many of my videos where it's like, no one's going to care about this. And then everybody cares about it.
I mean, dude, honestly, like, the amount that people, like this group of people cares about an 80s Toyota Corolla, like we already are starting at a baseline interest of very weird. So there's nowhere you can go that I think is too weird. Like, I think we're already so hyper specific that you can dig in.
Did you listen to the Starion episode?
I haven't listened to the Starion episode yet. I think it's one of the few I haven't heard, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I was curious about that too. Like broadening the scope of the Autohaus, even the podcast even more. Because I figure, like, if you're into Corollas, you're probably into other weird cars. So that was one idea I was kind of...
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
that was one idea I was trying to toy with, is, like, if there's a like, really eccentric owner of another really niche car, that might be good episodes for the podcast also.
I think all of us, like 8.6 owners, get excited about people that are passionate about the thing that they like. I think that's like a common thread that we can all kind of latch onto. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you have a Starion owner that's like, oh, I like fucking love this thing. Starion's the best thing in the world. And it's like as quirky and weird as our cars are. And like, that's so relatable.
Okay.
So yeah, I think expanding out into that world is great.
Okay. Awesome.
Did you happen to watch, have you seen any of the videos that Juicebox for You does? They're the like Irish 8.6 JDM channel.
Yes, I have.
Did you see their video about like 8.6 production numbers?
No, I haven't. I've been meaning to watch it, but
yo, it's so good. It is like the epitome of being an 8.6 nerd, but you have to watch that. It's so awesome. Okay,
yeah, I definitely will make it a point to watch that now. I know Phil Pham, so then Phil says on Instagram with that with 11, he messaged me.
God, it's so good. It's the best.
No, I know, totally. He messaged me after watching that video and was like, dude, so I matched up my transmission code with my door code and my all these codes, and like, yeah, it all matches up. Because when we were deciding like transmission options for him, I remember like specifically telling him like, hey, this particular car in this trim has like so much meaning to like your history, your family history, so much meaning to your family. Like, we need to keep this car like all together. So like that's why I wanted to specifically build like that trans that came in that car. And yeah, he
that's awesome that you did that. I'm glad. Like, numbers matching is probably the last thing that people think about with the Corolla. It's just not one of those cars right now, but I guess it's on its way to being one of those cars.
No, I totally agree. And I was so like happy to get that message. He was like, yeah, man, like all the numbers match on my car.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you got to watch that Juicebox for You video. It's so good. And like, I feel like taking that sort of deep dive approach, I would totally listen to you talk for hours about some obscure end of Corolla stuff.
Okay, yeah, I will definitely make it a point to watch that video, make some, take some notes, make an outline.
What else? I feel like all I do is think about 8.6s and want to talk about 8.6s, and then when the outlet to do so is here, I'm blanking.
It's funny. We converted the front office to the podcast studio, so there's like some nice tables and chairs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. There's like, I don't know if you've seen any pictures, but like I have sound deadening on the walls and like sound deadening curtains. So I'm in this room right now, and before I came in, Grant was like, "Oh, finally a remote podcast," and yeah, I have this thing about like I want to be able to do the like podcast in person. But I mean, in this instance, yeah, this went great. Like, I'd love to, podcast with you more often, even like remotely like this.
I would love to do it, man. As much as I hope to come back to the Autohaus soon. But yeah, I would be super happy to do more of these remotely, especially while we are quarantined due to the global pandemic. Yeah. I'm sure it's hard to get a guest closer than 6 feet away from you.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately. But
yeah, I'm always happy to hop on and do one of these. Yeah, if you ever want to do something with the Progression D guys, we can sit in a room on our end and hop on the phone with you and do a multi-person thing. We can figure out whatever you want to do. I'm down to make it work.
Oh man, dude, yeah, I would love to be on your podcast. That's the next thing. Like, where's I know we have a secret video. You guys have a secret video coming out, but where's all the other?
We do have a secret video coming out.
Where's all the other Progression D content gone?
Oh God, we're so bad about it, dude. We spend it's it's so tough to make it for us to all get in the same place at the same time. Now that we're quarantined, I've had more time to do some Progression D editing. We have that secret video coming out that will be out soon, and then we have Grant came out to visit us and talk a little bit with us about how to set up an 8.6 properly. So I've been in the middle of editing those videos. So those will be out soon. And then we're actually kind of dabbling right now with the idea of doing the remote podcasting. We're each going to just get our own little podcast set up and hop on the phone so that we can do it when we're not all together, because we want to do more of this. We're always happy to talk about our cars, talk about each other's cars and all the 8.6s of the world. But it's tough to get the four of us in a room at the same time. So hopefully more stuff soon.
Okay. Yeah. A lot of people are looking forward to it. Like, when I ask them, like, hey, do you watch Progression D on YouTube? Like, everyone's always pumped about it. And I'm like, oh man, I want to see more content from those guys too.
Oh, it's so bad, dude. We like last month, we just put out our Japan 2017 vacation video. So I'm like 4 years behind on editing, which is not very good.
Oh man. Well, now's the time, and then like everyone's dying for that content, man.
Yeah, luckily I have some edits to do, so hopefully we'll get stuff out while we're all still hanging in our houses, in our apartments.
But yeah, man, we can wrap up the podcast there. Yeah, man, Eric, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and then like you're the one who suggested it to me to do this podcast remotely. So I mean, yeah, totally. Thank you to you. I mean, this went great. It's like great to talk to you again. Always great to talk Corolla with you.
Thanks for having me on, man. Oh yeah, it's great talking with you. I'm so glad the Autohaus is doing so well, and yeah, it's great to talk about Corollas and see what's going on out on the West Coast. I hope to make it out there again really soon. I think you guys have the best little subsection of the Corolla community in the country, so I'm very happy to get to be a part of it when I come to visit.
Yeah, and then let me know if you guys get set up. Want me to over the phone on your guys' podcast? I mean, I'd love to do that too.
Absolutely, yeah. We're working on getting that set up right now. So once we're all set up, we will host you.
I'll hit the stop record button. But yeah, we can. But yeah, we'll close the podcast there. Yeah, man. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, man. I will talk to you soon.
All right. Until next time.
Yo, it's so good.